l'enfant.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Just for me to understand who is here, can you just raise your hands if you're a developer or cool or product guy or okay, yeah, cool, okay. What are you doing? M&A analyst. Okay. We are not looking for funds. Okay, great. Very quickly, oh yes, for developers or CTO, what is your language? Typically PHP? No one, okay. Node, some Ruby, Python. Shit, I'm not fluent in Python. Go, Java, no, okay. Thank you. So very quickly, yes, I'm Gilles. I'm a CEO of Zenaton. I have co-founded Zenaton 18 months ago with Luis, and before that, I was. It's my 2.5 startups, I will say. So I had one. Tell me where a long time ago, who was a mobile, one of the first success in mobile application in France, and then also Lytics, who was a project of to build a CRM actually. So the question of building processes, I was very interested in it for a very long time actually. When I talk about the process, what do I speak about? This is so because yeah, process can be something else. I can speak about process. I can speak also about workflow, for example. This is this type of things. This is an example. It doesn't matter if you do not manage to read. This is only the idea, you know. So this is an example of a process that, for example, a taxi company would have to implement for ordering a taxi. So first one is that if a user asks for a taxi, then you have to find the taxi nearby. If you don't have any taxi nearby, you can tell the customer that to try later, for example. Then, if not, if you have some, you can send them a notification to, I don't know, perhaps 10 of them. And then you have to wait for an answer. You have to wait for a confirmation of a taxi, of a driver. So here you have some time issues. If you don't have any confirmation, then well, you have to tell the users that you did not find anyone. If not, if it works, then you confirm the request and put in relation the driver on the customers. And it can go later up to the invoice, for example, or the rating, all of this. So this one is actually very simple, in a way. But the true processes can be quite complex and quite a mess to implement. This is an example what I call business process, but you can have some data pipeline, for example. It's more or less the same. So data pipeline, you just have to, you want to execute, you know, ETL, for example, extract, transform, load task. So it's the same idea. You have to orchestrate some task in order to make it in the good order. And you can this type of things you can also have for marketing. If you want to implement sophisticated automation, for example, you can have to implement this type of things. Okay. So why implement from a technical point of view? Why it is complicated, complex? A lot of reasons actually. First one is, of course, that the jobs are you know, all the tasks you have to do here. So a good practice is to isolate the task in simple single jobs to have, you know, it's a famous, what's the name of this principle? Your single responsibility principle. Okay, so if the job have to be usually processed on different servers, It can be because you want to scale, and so you can have 1, 2, 5, 10 servers. It can be also because you want to specialize every worker, and perhaps some tasks need some high CPU, some other need a lot of RAMs, a lot of memory. So you may want to specialize your different workers. Of course, when you are to have to implement this type of things, jobs are interdependent. So it means that you don't you don't dispatch all the job in the same time. You have to be sure that everything is done in order. Okay, so it's obvious from that. Jobs will fail. This is for sure. Whatever you think your infrastructure is about, you will have failure. Also, process may be time sensitive. It's not always the case, but for example, in the taxi example, it's time sensitive because when we send the notification, we have waited for 4 minutes before sending a sort of timer to the customer. So the process may be time sensitive, and so as you know, when you have to implement something time sensitive, it's always more complicated because probably you have to store some state somewhere in a database. The process may depend on external events. I don't know. Maybe if you are on a trip, you may have external events that will perturb the trip, and it can you need to handle that. So okay, when you have this type of situation, if you do that, actually, you will probably end up with a sort of event-driven architecture. This type of architecture is famously difficult to monitor. So because basically you have some events, a lot of events, and you listen to them, and then you decide what to do, and then you generate new events. But you usually don't have a complete view of the execution of the entire workflow or process. And it can be also difficult to update because if you have already implemented this, if you want to add some steps or update the order, the transition to the new architecture can be really difficult to handle. Do you agree to that or no? Yeah, you have the experience of that? Okay. As Vlad was telling you, I will after. Of course, I have prepared an example, but if you can already think about a use case, we will try to handle it later. So if you have one, just keep in mind. We will try to. The idea is to show you how we can handle such a situation with Zenaton. So yes, what is Zenaton? Zenaton is a tool, so it's a tool for developers. The idea is to provide the ultimate tool to manage asynchronous jobs. So by that, I mean even single asynchronous job where you can monitor everything with having all the tools needed to retrying, to monitor, to have ready the infrastructure, the queuing infrastructure, but also everything needed to orchestrate this job. And this is what I'm going to talk tonight. How it works. Basically, when you use Zenaton, you just have to install our agent on your workers, on your servers, and then use our library to build tasks on workflows, and that's it. You have to manage only code, not the infrastructure, nothing more. The queuing infrastructure is deployed on the fly for you, and as well as monitoring and the error management and everything you need to manage your workflows, such as managing the states, managing time, and events. It will be a bit clearer with the example. So this is already where we can look at some example. Has someone some example to share with some you would like to try to implement? No? Yeah? So please come in. Yeah, come. Tell us.
It's just that, just to be sure to understand, because I'm quite familiar with your market, and most of the time when we are talking about processes, we are talking about BPM engine, and there is like a lot of BPM engine on the market, and I think like the approach that you're offering is kind of really interesting, because it's like you're offering a BPM for developers, and even I was not sure about I was not sure about what to expect by coming here, and I think your approach is interesting, and most of the time when you want to assess a BPM engine capacity, you get this example about like file validation workflow. But maybe it's not a good example because you have a specific positioning.
Okay, please. So first comment. This is a really good comment. Actually, we think that Zenaton could be a much simpler. We provide the same type of feature than BPM, but in a way that can be implemented by even a single backend developers. So, but you know, on BPM you need to have you need to learn it. Usually the solutions can be quite heavy. With Zenaton, it's only one developers can handle it very easily because they don't really have a new tool to learn. It's a bit magical. I will show you. But can you please draw the process? Okay, I see. We have an expert here. Perhaps you can describe it at the same time.
It's like over here, it's like someone who does something. It's called the lane. It can be I don't know. Let's say a content creator, for example. I mean, my scribbling is awful. When I was a child, I went to see a doctor. It hasn't worked, unfortunately. So maybe I will stop just like writing. And let's say, okay, here you have, it's like the representation of a content producer. For example, let's say a graphist. The graphist is sending a video to, let's say, a client. And here it's like the client, and the client received the video, and then he say, okay, I'm gonna evaluate the video, and then to say, okay, is it okay? Do I? It's not like perfectly like norm compliant, but you will understand, or not okay. You see, I think maybe it can be tricky because on this process, it's like the roles are performed by two humans, and maybe your process engine is not fit to be performed by two humans. But might we say, for example, that this one is a human, and here there is a kind of script. Like an automatic script, for example, like RPA compliance script that can perform something. Like he does a check. Like, is it okay or not okay?
Okay. So let's. I can illustrate that. For example, let's suppose that this is a picture of a passport, and this is a task where we can check the validity of the passport. For example, is that okay? Yeah. Okay, we can do that. Okay, and then. Okay, and then we reply to the guy. We send a notification, I guess. Send a notification, and if not, we I don't know. We update the user status, for example. Something like that. Okay. And how long time do we have to? Oh no, no. Okay. So there is no in this. This is a computer, so we don't need to put a timeout to, because if it was a human, then it would be interesting to have a timeout. Okay. So yeah, please. So the idea is to show how we can implement this type of workflow with Zenaton. You will see it's very simple. The idea of Zenaton is to be able to write your code as everything was local and not limited in time. I'm going to show you some more. Oh, this is where I'm going to regret not to have something to put the. Okay, I will try to type with one hand. Okay. Sorry, I'm not very fluent in Python, so I'm going to write in Node. Okay. Oops, code, this one example. Okay. So I will decide that as soon as I received this file from the server, I will trigger a workflow. Okay. So I have some example here. This is only a very simple example package that you can download from our repository. So what I'm going to do is just to take this new file. Is that big enough? Do you see it? Yes. So I'm going to call it a file workflow. Okay. Okay. So I guess that this is going to be called with only one parameter, which is the name of the file, for example. Okay. So the first thing I have to do once received the file is actually to process it. So to check, we will say we are going to do. We have a task that is checking the validity of the file. So it will be something like that. We suppose that we have checked equal new equal await new. This is where we should have this task, something like. Okay. Yes. No, the idea is to propose this for developers. So, and you will see that it can bring a lot of values. The idea, when you have an interface to describe this type of things, you limit yourself to what you can do. When you write this by code, you can do whatever you know. The code is Turing complete, so you can do whatever you want. It's very easy. Okay. So I guess my hypothesis here is that I have already a task like this, check validity of image. Okay. Oh, thank you. Great. I feel I'm Jean-Jacques Goldman. No? Okay. Okay. So I guess I have something like to add the task here. Okay. So I just define. This is a vocabulary defined by Zenaton. The require is here. So I define this workflow, file workflow, and what I write here is that first thing is to actually check the validity of image. And my hypothesis is that the task return with a boolean, which is okay or not okay. Okay. And so after that, it's very easy. If checked, okay. If the check is okay, then I will update. For example, I will upload, for example, the file or update the status of the. Okay, so just what I have to do is. Okay. Update valid image for user. Okay, so I guess that I should always my workflow should also be called with a user. And okay. If not, I send a notification to the users. Okay. 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 So it seems a bit trivial by writing this, but actually, when you what I did is I have a check validity of image with a file as a parameter, and I have the checked value that is the return value of the task. Keep in mind to understand this code that actually the task. So we have 3 tasks here: check validity of image, update validity image for user, and send invalid image notification to user. We have 3 tasks. These 3 tasks can be executed, can be processed on different servers. Okay, so I am writing this code, but actually this code describes how the execution will be flowing. It does not mean that I will execute this code on the same thread, especially. It means that we are describing here the way the workflow is flowing, will be executed. So that's all. So if one thing you can see is that, and after that I will show some real example. I cannot show it there because it's I will have to write the task. But actually I can. Let me write this quickly. Okay. So I will write dummy task. Okay. So. Sync function. I think should be that. Okay, like that. Okay, and now I have to write the task, so I can take also some example. Take the third up. New file. Okay. So I'm writing the task currently. Oops. Okay. This is a very, very odd way for not to say that we can wait 3 seconds. And then I will return true, because it works. Okay, so here, of course, you will have to implement the actual task. Okay, so I'm going to do both the 2 others. Okay, here we don't care for return value. Okay, and the last one. Send. Okay. Okay. And then I can try now. So just let me check if I have everything. Yes, I require task. Okay. I have a boot file where I have to define. So I add it to the boot file, and let me check if it's okay. Already I'm going to put, okay. So, okay. Louis, why the port is not open on the family Wi-Fi? Yes. Okay. I'm going back to the Wi-Fi. It can happen when we need to have this port open. That's strange. Okay. Let me check. Okay. Oh. Actually, it seems to work. Okay. So I have to just to build a file to launch this workflow, and I can do it like this: launch. Okay. File workflow. So I'm supposed to have a file here on a user. Oops. Okay. Okay. What I do basically is I instantiate the file workflow I just written with the data with the file on a user, and I dispatch it. Okay. So I'm going to check that node. And this is late. Okay. So let me check. Oh, yes, I have a file workflow. Okay. So it seems to work. So what? Okay. What we can see here is that we have had. So yes, keep in mind again that the task was actually executed on different servers possibly. Yeah? It's here. To be honest, it was executed on my Mac, but it could be executed. It could be processing on one computer in London, one computer in Tokyo, and one computer on my Mac. Okay, so so we have executed the check validity of image, and this is the sort of gun view of the process, and we can see it's completed. I can just click on the task to see actually the properties of the task, and then I have update valid image for users. Okay, and now let's guess that actually the first check was wrong. Where is my workflows? Yes. So check validity of image. Okay, false. So it's running, and I can. This is different instance. So today I have two instances of these workflows, and now yes, we have. So this failed in a actually it does not fail. There is no error, but the output is false, and so we send the valid image notification to the users. Okay, so we can see that the input here is false. Okay. So again, to understand what does it mean, all the task was executed on different servers. Only the logic was actually the class was written to describe the logic of the execution, and you can describe this logic in two nodes. And it can be. This was a really simple example. I will hope. Ask someone a more complex example. I have one if you want. No? Yes? Yeah. So let's okay. So we can complexify. I don't know. Let me know. We suppose after that we have an automatic task, and then we are waiting for human validation. Okay, for example. Okay, so I have to change my workflow, and again, this is also a demonstration of how easy it is. Then, so this was okay. So I have something to do now. I will send a notification to a moderator. Yeah. First things. Okay, send image to moderator. Let's say. Okay. And then I will wait for a moderation event. So let's. Oops. Here we can use a wait function that we provide. And the wait function can take the name of an event. Okay. So what this code will do actually is after the success of the first check, it will update the image for the user, then it sends the image to a moderator, for example, and then he will wait for a moderation event. Okay. So somewhere else, the moderator will have an interface with the image showing, for example, shown. It can be perhaps from this and this task it has been written on a database, for example, but target that is not yet validated, for example. And so the moderator can be able to see actually what is which image has to be validated, and by clicking a button, it will be able to send an event to this workflow. I will show you how. It's just one line of code. Okay. Okay. And then I have to decide what to do after that. To be honest, I do not mind the. Let me check. Wait event. It's. Oh, okay. I think it's. I do not remember the syntax. Okay. For example, it could be something like that. Oops. So if the moderation is positive, I will do something else. If not, I'm going some maybe not invalid, but I don't know, unsolicited image. I don't know. Okay. So yes. So how do I send an event to the workflow? Actually, it's very easy. I think I have some example here. One to the lunch. Yes. Oh, okay. So to send a workflow, I have actually to define an ID of the workflow. So I will define an ID for this workflow. So there is an easy way to do that. I need to add more method. So it will be, okay. So I put that in a handle method, and I have also an ID method. Okay, and so the I'm going to decide that actually the ID of this workflow will be the name of the workflow, of the file. Okay. So by doing that, I decide that, again, the ID of the workflow is the name of the file. And so now I can launch where ID, so it will be data file. And I can send moderation events. With decision true. Okay, probably it will be something like something like that. Okay. So now I decide. So after this task, I'm going to wait for this event, and then depending of the answers, I will decide what to do. So it's very easy. And in this example, for example, the way to send an event to a workflow is basically to target the workflow with the good ID, and to send an event like this with a name and some data. Okay? And so after that, it will be handled there, and depending on the decisions, then I will decide what to do. Yes? Excuse me? Don't you have a microphone for the audience, please? No, it's fun. You can throw it. Yes.
Yeah, so do you generate a random specific ID that I can then call when I want to resume the workflow? And how do I get this ID?
You are defining the ID, actually. By writing this method, you're telling us that the ID of this workflow is this file, is the name of the file.
Okay, makes sense. And while the moderation happens, is the process hanging?
No, of course. This is all the point. When we are waiting for this event, you don't have any threads in your servers that will wait for open. You can wait for 2 weeks, and nothing will actually happen in your servers. Everything is managed at Zenaton. Okay, and one of the good things of this type of technology is that when you write this, for example, you quickly realize that you have a sort of you miss something. Basically, what happens if this moderation event never arrives? And when you implement workflows like this in real life, usually you don't. It's so complex to understand what you are doing that you don't realize that the user can be stuck in a situation like this. So, for example, what is if you don't receive the moderation event, what happened? Actually, nothing happened. So you are waiting forever. So maybe there is a problem, and maybe you should modify your workflow in order to have a timeout and to decide what to do when you have a timeout. Okay, so and you can do something like that. For example, I can wait for 1 week. Okay. So by doing that, I wait the event for 1 week. After 1 week, if I do not receive it, then I can still decide what to do. So if after 1 week I do not receive this event, it means that the moderation will be the variable moderation will be actually empty. It will be undefined, and so I have to, for example, I have to do something like that, and then perhaps I can decide what to do if the moderation is empty. Okay. I can show you an example that I have prepared because it will be easier to execute and to demonstrate. Do you have any question based on what I have shown? Yes.
You pass arguments to your tasks. They must be stored somewhere. They are serialized, marked.
Yes. Yeah. The input of the task and the output also are serialized and transported between different servers, and you don't have to care about that. It's done on the fly for you. Yes. So basically, you just have to manage your code, and you have to write. You can write even sophisticated processes in 20, 30 lines of code, actually. And you don't have to manage the queuing system. You don't have to manage the states. One of the magical things here is that your states, you don't. I've done this demonstration, and I will do another one without adding any column in any database. I don't need to. It just works. So I don't have to manage the states. I don't have to manage the queuing system, the logging, nothing. So let me show you it's in PHP, but I guess it will be okay. Also, the example I'm going to show is this one. For example, it's a payment workflow. So I suppose that I'm going to charge the customers. I already have some payment information. If it's a success, I'm going to send the invoice and send the order to ship the order. And then, if not, I'm going to ask a new payment information and wait for the payment up to 40 days, for example. If I did not receive anything for 40 days, I will cancel the order. If I have, then I will send the invoice and ship the order. Okay. So how to do that? The code to do that actually is that big, and that's all. That's all you need. Oops. So here, so I charge the customer for the orders, okay, and this is true if it's a success, false if not. No, if it is not a success, I will ask for a new payment, a new way of payment, and then I will wait for the order, the event order page, and I will wait up to. Here it's 14 seconds, but it can be 14 days, of course. This is only for the demo. Okay. And at the end, if it's charged or if I receive the event, then I send the order notification, the invoice and the order shipping. And if not, I cancel the order. And that's it. Okay, so let me just. I wanted to show you that just because I have the task and it's a way to show you the different situations. So I'm going to instantiate this order and dispatch it. Okay, so Okay. As you can see, I have here different environments. An environment is a way to isolate some workflow. So I have decided to have an environment per language in this case, but the idea is that you can have an environment for production, an environment for staging, an environment for one developers, for example. Okay. Okay, so it's already done. So I've talked too much. I'm going to launch it again. So now it's running. So the first task is charge customer for the order. It was a success, and so I can send the order invoice and send order to shipping. Okay, and then again I can see the properties, everything. So now I suppose that the first charge does not success. And here you have to of course, you have to decide what is a failure from a technical point of view or what is a failure from a business point of view. Having the payment detail declined is not a failure from a technical point of view. So it's something that has to be handled by the business logic. If we can see after the failure from a technical point of view, so it's not the same. Up to now, all our tasks have worked. So now, from a business point of view, the charge failed. So okay, so now I ask for new payment detail, and then I wait up to 14 days. Here it's 14 seconds. And then after 14 seconds, actually I think I cancel the order. Yes, so I cancel the order. Okay? Again, there is no PHP thread open when waiting, of course. Okay, and then last situation, I'm going just to send the events that I've paid after 10 seconds, just to simulate things. Okay, so again, I have a failure of my here false. Okay, and then I have the wait, and I can see the events here. This is the sample for the event. I can see the events, and so I have now the task send order, invoice, and send order to shipping. Yes? Thank you.
One, two, and two. Yes, perfect. Yes, the first one is what you are presenting me is what I think a more beautiful way of handling asynchronous tasks than Lambda, Amazon Lambda. And because when Lambda came out, I remember the promise was that, but without this interface, this nice interface and everything. And so maybe you can tell me what's like your difference with Lambda or what's the spirit behind it. And the other thing, don't you think, and I think you will say no, it has no value, but don't you think having a business rule engine without any code that generate code in Node, Go, Python, you don't like Python, but you understand business logic, so you might like set some parameters and it generates your code. Don't you think it has value for your target? Or you think, okay, no, it's just like code and...
Alors, for the Lambda, actually, for example, Amazon has provided what they call the step function for Lambda, and so step function is a very basic way to orchestrate those Lambda. And what we would like to provide also is to apply Zenaton to a serverless task also. It's not available right now, but we know that it will be a very interesting use case. No, we can't say that. No, Lambda, it's only another way to execute tasks. Here the tasks are provided. Actually, maybe it was not clear. The tasks are executed on your server with this. What we do is the orchestration. We provide you a very easy way to describe your processes and to be sure that they are executed in the right orders, in the right ways, with monitoring everything. But the tasks are executed on your servers. But we are working also on having the possibility to orchestrate those tasks in a serverless way, or serverless task. So to go way behind what provides the step function, for example. And regarding the second question, if we would find useful to have an interface to describe the workflow, of course, yes, of course, but it's not our positioning right now. If we have some success, we will probably have some extension to do that. It should not be that difficult. But today we are focused on providing the service for developers and developers that are able to speak Node, PHP, Python, and so on. And basically, this is what I wanted to show you. I don't know if you have some more questions. Yes?
Do you plan on interfacing all this with frameworks like IFTTT or Zapier?
Oh yeah. The subject is really exciting. Actually, one of the idea you have when you have this type of tool is that it could be very exciting, very good to have already coded task that you could just assemble like some very small Lego and do whatever you want. And I can share something with you, which is we are currently working on a prototype, for example, to do that with Slack. And the idea is to wrap the API of Slack to make them usable by Zenaton as a task, as simple task. And also, and this is I think where it's really exciting, also to handle the events, the webhooks coming from Slack, to transform them into events. So if we are able to, if you have some task for the API call, and you have event for the webhook, you can very easily code whatever workflow you want with your third-party API. And the good thing about that also is that every task is none, and so Zenaton can also. You are not forced. You can imagine that you can execute them. We can execute them on the Zenaton server. You don't need to have some workers, and so then you can execute some very sophisticated workflow serverless with third-party API. So this is an exciting opportunity, and this is something we are prototyping right now. Yes?
Another one. I'm curious about your vision, and because we talk about the product, but not so much about the vision. How did you came up with the idea of streamlining processes for developers? The morning
Yes.
by shaving?
No, actually, it's quite simple. I have had to implement such type of workflows for years, and I was stuck. I was struck by how complex is it actually. When you want this, often people don't realize, but when you have to implement this type of things, it's really quickly a mess actually, and you end up with a complex architecture, event-driven, and suddenly you need a team of 10 people to handle that or more. And that's why usually the process startups have often are very simple, very basic. And the idea with that is that you can have very sophisticated process even if you're only a few developers, and that everything is handled for you. And the idea is that you know, when you have to implement this type of workflow or process, usually what you have to do does not depend of actually what your startup does. It's always the same. So this is the sign of something has to be done to let the developer focus on what is actually their own business, not on building a new RabbitMQ, a new event-driven architecture, a new Redis database to store the states, some crons. Everything, all those tools actually does not depend of what you are building. And so every developers, every tech team are doing it again and again. And it's a sign for me that something has to be improved. Something else? If not, thank you very much for coming. And I'm here if you have additional questions. Thank you.